You're tuned in to RX Radio.
And we're live. We're back. RX Radio. Myself, Jordan Junta here with Brandon Schultze. This is, how many times have you been on the podcast? Two times before? Three?
Maybe four. I don't know if
Four?
we count the ones in Edmonton because they were a shit show. But
Yeah. I try and block everything in Edmonton, besides you and smoke, out of my consciousness.
the two good things about Edmonton.
That's it. Yeah, thanks for being here, man. For those of you that are in the loop, Brandon's actually going to be teaching this upcoming semester of the level 1. So he'll be teaching alongside Killian, Jorge, and Shallow. So that's something you guys can look out for coming September 20th. That'll be the start of the new class of the level 1. So if you guys are in it, can't wait to hang out with you guys. You guys will get to know Schultze pretty well. If not, there's still time to sign up. So head over to the website, www.pre-script.com, and you can click on the level 1, get all the information you need to know. If you need to know more information and you have questions, go ahead. You can schedule a call and you can link up with Killian. He'll talk you through it, answer any questions that you guys have. But yeah, level 1, September 20th. Shallow, Killian, Brandon, Jorge. What a crew. Plus, like, everyone else that does the lab. So come join the family. Just be one of the homies. We can't wait to hang. All right, we'll move on from that. But I feel like I need a shotgun in my lap or something right now. You just have like a whole bunch of whiskey behind you. You got the flannel going, a cigar in hand. Is
And the
this
monster.
in your just man room in your house? Is that what
Yeah.
this is?
Yeah, this is my office. So you can catch me with a cigar and a whiskey pretty much on the regular.
Damn.
It's like it was a pretty great, swindling that I did with the wife. I was like, you know what, I really like this thing. Can I make a room that's dedicated to it? And for whatever reason, I guess she loves me a lot, and she said yes. So
Wow.
props to the wife, because I mean, I don't know a lot of other people that would allow it. So that's great.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I lived in Edmonton, I would have to start drinking the second that I woke up as well. So I totally get it.
Honestly, yeah. Like, it takes a lot to not like spike the coffee in the morning sometimes.
Ooh, yeah. Sometimes you just gotta do it. You
Yeah.
just gotta
Like at the
do it.
gym that I work at, like you've been to Evolve. Like
Yep.
right now there's construction going on in that like next door, like adjacent parking lot. Right. And I have to park a couple blocks down. So at 5 a.m, I roll into the gym, and there's people sitting on a park bench at 5 a.m. It's like, that's never good. Someone sitting on a park bench at 5 a.m. is not a good thing.
Yeah, they're not waiting to go to work.
No, exactly. They're waiting to kill me and other people.
The wonders of Edmonton.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get it. There's a lot of people that somehow seem to be on the streets at all hours of the night and haven't frozen to death yet.
I don't know how. Like when it's minus 40, I don't know how everyone that tries to live outside, well, not by choice, but they don't die.
The Edmonton people, they're resilient. That's for sure.
It's kind of amazing. We're a different breed of people.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
for sure. So what's new with you? It's been a minute since we've had you on the podcast. Give us a life update.
You know what? Nothing's new. Like, still seeing clients, still coaching in person, still coaching people online, still kind of hanging out in the background of the prescript stuff as much as I possibly can. I've been a little MIA from your lab particularly, but
I know, man.
It
hurts.
We got everyone else asking crazy questions in that lab.
Always. Yeah, it's good. It'll be good to catch up. Also, I guess a quick plug here is Level 1 live in Toronto. Schultze will be out. I'll be there. Shallow, Killian. I think Jorge's coming up as well. So we'll have a squad there. We'll have a crew. But yeah, I can't wait to catch up then. Yeah, how's the in-person stuff going? I kind of noticed, I don't know, I'm noticing in the last like few weeks as we shift into fall, it's like people are actually starting to give a shit in the gym again. Not like The homies always give a shit, but like the general population, it seems like people are starting to, over the summer, there's a lot of travel, there's a lot of shit going on. People like kind of fuck off. And
Yeah,
now people are getting back and they're like, all right, I'm going to button it up and get my diet back together. Have you noticed that too?
it's depression season, man. It's depression season. That's like
That's
the
a
wife.
real statement when you live that far north.
Yeah, the wife is a psychologist, and it's a real thing. Like it's just depression season is among us. The sun, like I don't. Again, you live in California, so it's pretty great all year round. Somewhat, it's not -40. That's for fucking sure.
Ugh.
But I think in general, people in this time, like they've got nothing else to focus on. Like the beer and the drinking and the patios, like they're starting to not be habitable. So they just turn all of their inward shit into the gym because they've got nothing better to do. Like I have a client and he's like going away in a month, and I was like, hey, what do you want to do with your payment? Like, do you want to put it on hold, or like, what do you want to do? He's like, honestly, just like let it roll over for a month, and like we'll pick up and we'll do like 3 or 4 sessions a week because it's winter, got nothing better to do.
Yeah, that's
So they
so
would,
true.
yeah, it's wild, man.
Yeah.
in
Yeah, I guess
person in
that's,
person coaching is great because you get to build that connection with people, but you spend time, like more time with these people sometimes than your own family. Like it's kind of wild to think about.
yeah.
So it's like you get to hear all of their crazy inside shit that they like when you hang out with me, I'm like the politically incorrect uncle of Prescript.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I say some stupid shit, but I get some laughs out of it.
I love it, man. That's so true though. Like there's information about people's families that I never thought that I would have, that I have just from training people like 3 hours a week. It's
Yeah,
crazy the shit that they'll just start to talk about. And it's like, I guess that's a sign that your clients trust you, is that they'll start to open up. But
yeah.
I never really understood that. I don't know. I don't know. It's a
Yeah, and all
special
of a sudden,
relationship, the
I got
trainer
beef with
client.
someone's grandma.
You got what?
It said, and all of a sudden, I've got beef with someone's grandma. Like
Oh yeah.
they're just talking shit and like making my client feel bad. So now I got beef with grandma.
Oof, got to bring it to her house. What's up,
Yeah,
Graham?
break some knees.
Oh man, so how's online stuff going?
Good. Online is good. I feel like this is just going to be a conversation of us hanging out. Like,
That's all it ever is, man. That's all it
yeah,
really ever is.
yeah. Online stuff is good. I find the transition between online and in person is really nice. Having that differentiation in like what I'm able to do with a client that is online, especially because most of the clients that I do work with online are other coaches, and in person it's a lot of like everyday people for the most part. Like
Mhm.
training coaches itself and training online is just a freeing experience because you can actually like you're not limited to just 1 or 2 days a week, 2 days a week typically. Like
Right.
you can actually like let go and let free with the programming a little bit, which is actually enjoyable because like programming 3 days a week is just not enjoyable for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's great. Obviously, people need that, but being able to actually like get people places and get people to their goals, having that extra time is just so freeing.
Yeah, and that's a really good way to look at it. Actually, I was having a conversation with one of our level one coaches the other day, and I don't know how they meant this, but I took it as a pretty good compliment. And he was like, everyone that works for you is like a different breed of coach. And I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, let's go. But I think what he meant by that was that it's a lot of level one coaches, or at least the people that work in Prescript, they've kind of forged their own trail, right? Like as far as getting into the training industry goes, you don't have very many options. You work like at a big box gym, you either coach group classes, or you come in, maybe you work at like a private facility. So it's like it's a little bit hard. It's kind of hard to get established online if that's your first touch point. You need to have a following from something, from some sort of credibility before you can really get into that. Whether that following is from in-person work with clients, or whether that's from experience in whatever realm you're in, whatever your niche is. But I think that's something really unique that, like yourself, and we have a lot of very successful online coaches that work for us here at Prescript. I think that's what makes them a different breed, is that the experience is there, right? Is you can't just start up an online business and just be successful. Is that you need
Yeah.
to gain that credibility somehow, and you need to have something that, you can realistically work with anyone in the world online, anyone that's offering that service. So to be able to carve out your place in that market and have someone want to work with you over someone else for a specific reason it's it's not an easy task to do. So I think that's a really unique thing about not just like the people that we hire at Prescript, but that's a lot of Prescript coaches too, is they kind of forge their own trail through this stuff. Is they, this stuff, it's very ill defined, is online training. It's something that's really become more prominent in the past, I don't know, three years, I guess, since like COVID, 3.5 years now. Is that a lot of the more successful trainers kind of pivoted and said, well, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing and I'm just going to bring it to you. So that's something that I think is really unique about people like yourself, Mac, Killian, Stu, all the coaches that we have here, Phil, Dwayne, like everyone, they're crushing it online. And the reason for that is because they've established themselves in a way that establishes credibility in what they do. And there's a want and a need for what they do because they have experience in real life and they bring that online. So I think that's like, I don't know how they meant that to be, that, the Prescript coaches are a different breed, but I took it as one of the best compliments because it's kind of the next step in training, right? Is that you'll see a lot of turnover in the training profession because we've all been there. Like we've all done like the personal training or the group classes or whatever, like those entry points for training. And it's like, it'll run you into the ground. You don't make money. You get a ton of experience, which is the benefit, but you're not making money. You don't have any time. They're long days. Like you're not taking care of yourself. So it can get really shitty. So those that are good at that, they find a way to evolve and they find a way to get their time back because they have that credibility. You start to leverage it. And that's the working online.
Yeah. Thayer told me, I was having a conversation with him a long time ago, and he said that he started doing like spin classes. Can you imagine
What the
Thayer
fuck?
on a bike and like motivating people? That is insane. I would go to that class, absolutely. And you would not catch me on a fucking bike for a second. But it's like that willingness to eat shit too. Like no one wants to cut their teeth anymore on just like getting experience and just like not making money or not making a ton of money and just like going through the fucking ringer. Like working at Good Life, everyone shits on it, but it's like, you know what? Like without them, I wouldn't be where I am today. Like, yeah, it sucked. Like I worked, 12 to 15-hour days, and like some of that you're not getting paid for. But like I also got to, have hands-on experience with, a couple hundred people over my career at that gym, right? Yeah. Like I see it all the time now, especially that I've come into like the private stuff and the private gyms where like Evolve is like a sort of a mixed breed, right? Like it is a public gym, but you can bring your own clients and you pay a membership type thing, like a lease every month, and you just get to use that space. But I see it all the time, and I've been doing my own thing in person for 5 years or so. And you see it where people come in, new trainers come in, and they think that they can just do it from like nothing. They think that they just can like start a business out of nowhere. It's like, who the fuck are you? Like, yeah. I did my shit at Good Life, and no one knew who I was, and they still probably don't know who I was. But through that experience and through that, working my ass off and being borderline, abused, probably, if that's like if that's a thing, whether it's abuse to myself, which that's probably something that I do regularly.
Yeah,
but
you seem like the type.
Yeah. But like, just not like understanding that you just need to like eat shit for a while, and you're not going to build success in a business where you just show up and you're like, hey, I'm accepting clients. It's like, cool. Where are your other clients?
Yeah, exactly. And that's actually a really good point, is that you almost need to have a little bit of scarcity in your business for it to look attractive, right? Is
Yeah.
that if you have, oh, book online and every single booking is open, it's like, I don't want to be the only one. It's there needs to be some sort of show that there's demand for your services. So I
Yeah.
think that's how a lot of people, at least in our circle, kind of bridge that gap of working in person to working online. Is that if you have in person clients, make them online clients if you want an online business, and then it just allows you again to. That's how all. I work with a few people in terms of rehab, like one-on-one in-person stuff, and I do have my practice, which is obviously all face-to-face. But a lot of what I do is it's, obviously it's education. I'm biased towards education, right? Is I don't I don't have the time or energy to hold someone's hand three
Yeah.
times a week for a knee rehab program. I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to do, and I'm going to trust that you can do it. And I want you to come back if there's a change, positive, negative. If something changes, if your state changes, that's when I need to talk to you. If nothing changes, I don't need anything. We don't need to have this conversation. Is that it's, you can sell your time, which is, what you end up doing in those big box, 15-hour day gyms is, yes, you're selling your time, but your time is very finite, right?
Yeah.
And until you can find a way to be more efficient with your time, then you're just going to run yourself into the ground. And that's what the online training is. So taking these people that, maybe don't need a touch point, but you need to buy groceries. So you're seeing them 3 times a week
Yeah.
and putting them online. And now you could train them 5 days a week and they can have better progress and you can have your time back. Is that, once you establish that baseline in terms of you need to have the same vocabulary. So there needs to be that dialogue there. They need to know what you mean when you say XYZ. I think that's an important part of it. And then there needs to be some level of movement competency for them to be a good candidate for online coaching. But once you have those two things, then everyone kind of wins in that scenario. It probably saves them money too. Like I know that 2 sessions would cost the same as what I charge an online client for a month, 2 in-person
Yeah.
sessions. So it's like, oh, so you're paying, I don't know, like a tenth of the price and you're getting a whole lot more value out of it. So it really makes a lot of sense, but you have to establish that there's a want or there's a need for your services before you can start to sell them like that. So I think that's that. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I wasn't going to really say anything. I was curious about your trajectory. Like, did you go like obviously you're like high competitive like background, but did you ever like really just coach people in general? Like, no chiropractic? Like, you did that, right?
Yeah, so I started personal training in college. That would have been probably about 20 fuck dude, how old am I? 2010, I think is when
Yeah.
I got my first personal training certification. And
Yeah.
I had been training like in like helping friends and stuff my entire life in the gym. But I got my first personal training certification and I started training out of my college gym, training people out of my college gym in about 2010. And I did that through college. And then through chiropractic school, I stopped that for a bit. And then when I started doing CrossFit, I actually got into like group class coaching. So I did CrossFit classes like anywhere from like, I don't know, 10 to 25 people. And then I actually developed because CrossFit fucking sucks. Everyone sucks at CrossFit. If you're listening to this and you do CrossFit, you suck at CrossFit. It's I've worked with some of the best CrossFitters in the world, and they don't maybe they're good at CrossFit, but they don't. There's a lot of improvement that can be had in terms of movement quality and understanding movement and biomechanics and principles of exercise, all the things that we teach. Um, so yeah, that's a different kind of gripe. But I actually developed a program. This is how I actually got into weightlifting coaching. Is I developed a program, like an onboarding program for people that sucked at CrossFit, people that wanted to do CrossFit, because
Yeah.
that's the thing. I don't. I think it's like this everywhere, but especially where I'm at, is that people come into a CrossFit gym because they've heard about CrossFit and it has some notoriety, and they think that they can just do it and get muscles and be fit, even though they have literally zero strength and conditioning experience in the past and zero athletic experience in the past. And like CrossFit classes, they're just like these random workouts that people just keep going through, and it just has all these high skill movements that no one understands how to do. I stress that point, that no one understands how to do well. And they just work hard, and everyone, if you work hard enough, you're going to think you got a good workout, but you might be getting a hard workout, but it's ineffective at making you better at anything. It might actually have negative implications on your health. So, your musculoskeletal health. So I developed the program here for all the like new incoming clients, and I would be their first touch point there. And then I eventually kind of realized that was a losing battle. So I'm like, you know what? I coach weightlifting now. I coach only weightlifters, and that is it. People with a very specific goal that want to improve, and that's who I coach. And I kind of went through that whole process as I was going through chiropractic school. And then shortly after graduating chiropractic school, I was just coaching weightlifters. And then as I opened my practice, it turned into rehab also. So those are the two populations that I work with. I work one-on-one with people. Realistically with athletic goals of increasing performance, and mostly in the realm of rehab. And then I work with sport-specific athletes for weightlifting.
Yeah. I wonder what the the trajectory nowadays, like you've been doing this for a minute, like I've been doing this for a minute. What the trajectory of a trainer's like career nowadays is like interesting to me, because like you started in the thick of it. You're just like, I want to be a trainer. I'm going to take this certification, and I'm going to do the thing, and because I'm good at it, and I can make other people good at it too, and want to learn to do other things good too. But what fascinates me is like looking at the state of like the fitness industry and the things that people focus on nowadays, and like where like the level of distractions in fitness right now is like the self-help shit. Like you need to meditate, you need to go outside and see whatever 15 minutes of sunlight. You can't drink your coffee now within 90 minutes of waking up.
Yeah.
Like
I'll fight anyone who tries to tell me that. I'll use those 90 minutes to beat the shit out of them.
Yeah. Like what is the what do you think the trajectory of a client's or a trainer's like professional, career goes now? Cause like how do you focus on all these things that like, you're being told to do or thrown at? And like even within the education space, like there are so many certifications out there.
Yeah.
And courses, and it's all kind of, that sort of like return to the basics sort of thing. So like level 1 is amazing because like, 3 years ago I took that course, and it opens up your eyes, and it makes you actually think about the bullshit that you see in the industry and online and whatever.
Yeah.
Right. That's why I wanted to help teach the thing, because
amazing.
For me, it was incredible just to like have other people who are really good at their craft and like understand what is actually going on behind the scenes and how to make people actually better and not waste their time and money. But it's like now you get a trainer that comes into the industry that's just even more bombarded with bullshit. And it's like, where do you decide to go in your career? It's like, do you double down on the animal flow, or like do you double down on like the human optimization stuff? It's like, it's kind of scary to me as someone who came into this literally just out of a love for fitness or love for training, and like it's so far removed from actually training nowadays that like, where does the line between like, all right, we're gonna go in the weight room and we're gonna fucking lift weights until you vomit, or like now it's like, okay, well, we're gonna start the session with a 15-minute meditation, some breath work, and we'll go get coffee 90 minutes after your workout. Like
yeah, that's a really interesting question. And I think being in it as long as at least I'll speak from my perspective, is that the way that this worked when I started training, and like when I started going to the gym, I was probably, I don't know, like 10 10 to 12. Like, dude, I was fucking young.
Yeah.
But like, this is before Instagram. This is before Facebook was really even anything. Probably like right, or maybe even before MySpace, right around that time. But like, social media didn't have an impact on what you did in the gym at that
Yeah.
point. And then in the last probably 10 years, I think there's been this big swing where social media impacts everything that everyone does on a daily basis, which there's good to that and there's bad to that, right? Is that I remember like there's this one point probably when I was in high school, like the movie 300 came out. And then there's like this
Yeah.
rumor that there was this 300 workout that was 300 reps. And it was like all these crazy movements with like, I don't even remember, like floor wipers and like dips and like all this shit. And it's like, this is the movement that got the workout that got the guys jacked for 300. And that was like as much as any social media or like social networking would affect anything you did in the gym. But now it's like everything is so intertwined. Social media is so intertwined with people's lives, and information just travels so fast. And I think that's why, and in non-contextual information travels
Yeah.
so fast. I think that's the important part of this. So like when I was in the gym, it was because I fucking love training. It's
Yeah.
not because I wanted to get a big following on Instagram or a bunch of views on TikTok or I wanted to make a YouTube video. It wasn't for, and you couldn't monetize that. You couldn't monetize a love for training outside of being a personal trainer, right? That's how you monetize it. The people that I knew that loved training were career personal trainers, and those were like the biggest dudes or like the most ripped girls in the gym. And it's like they'd been doing this their entire life because they fucking love training and they're good at it, and that's how they got into it, and that's how they made a career out of it. And now it's so different because people have businesses before they have like degrees. I
Yeah.
mean, and
Yeah.
not saying that that's like a measuring stick or anything, but like just in terms of experience, like before they're old enough to have a degree, I guess is a better way to put it.
Yeah.
Is that so? That's the thing that I think has shifted the most in the time that I've been in the fitness industry or in the training profession, is that when I started it, and I know this is true of Shallow too, is like when we started, it was for a love of training.
Okay.
And my goal when I was in the gym was to figure out a way that I could never leave the gym.
Yeah.
And had it not been for the internet and the way that things evolved, like I probably would just be a career personal trainer, right? I went to chiropractic school because I wanted to open a practice in a gym, and now I'm sitting in my office that's in a gym, and I come to a gym and I'm in a gym 10 hours a day, Monday through Saturday, every single week. So it's like I've accomplished my goal of never having to leave a gym and
Yeah.
being able to work out, when I please. But the thing that made that possible is I don't have to spend 12, 15 hours training people on the gym floor a day. It's the internet was this pivotal thing that allowed you to be so much more efficient and effective with your time. So it's, I have no idea how I would navigate. I know how I would navigate this, but
Yeah.
I guess it's got to be a confusing place for people that are coming up right now, because you have access to this vast amount of information before you have the experience to be able to interpret it, right? And
Yeah.
that's literally no person that gets into this industry from this point on, as far as time goes, until like the internet doesn't exist anymore, if that's a thing, they'll never have the chance to do that. They'll never have their experience outweigh their access to information. They'll always have access to more information than they do experience, which is like a weird shift for me to kind of comprehend. So I think that's where, and this is like a long statement of me just like pumping our own tires here. But the thing that I think that we do well at Prescript, and the level one does a really good job of, is it accelerates your perspective.
Yeah.
Is that it can cut through the bullshit, right? Because there's a lot of bullshit. There's so much bullshit out there,
Yeah.
and that like 90% of it, and it's a game. I've done full podcasts on this. Is social media is a game. Even for people that have good intentions, a lot of them just have to play the game, or else no one's going to know that they exist, right? Is you need to have kind of clickbaity things, or you need to have the yellow subtitles and like the thumbnails and all this shit. Like,
Yeah.
or else, the algorithm's not going to pick it up. No one's going to see it. And, you might have really good, valuable information, but it's going to get lost in this sea of bullshit that looks cooler. So that's the
Yeah.
thing that the level 1 does, is it accelerates your perspective, is that you gain the knowledge of people that have been in this industry in that time where experience mattered more than availability of information. And you can learn from them, from that experience. And at this point, we're over decades. Like I've been training for decades now, multiple 2 consecutive decades, more than that. Shallow as well. We have Dwayne. He's been training since like before any of us existed.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like we literally have hundreds of man hours behind this course,
Yeah.
where people that are not only doing the thing because they love doing the thing, but they've been teaching the thing for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours. So it's so many hours. So
Yeah.
that's I guess my take on the situation, is that if you're coming up right now, it's the thing that you're going to be lacking is experience. So I would never recommend to anyone to start an online coaching business if you don't have in person hours or
Yeah.
experiences. You need to understand how to develop I say athlete, but like a client. You need to understand development, how a human progresses in strength training, among different goals, so that you can find your niche. Like you said, maybe it is the like animal flow, whatever they do. Maybe it's, meditation, maybe it's yoga, maybe it's strength training, whatever it is. But you need to experience these things to see what you gravitate towards and what you're good at and how you can get results. Because there's, a lot of this stuff, it sucks. Like, it really does suck, but there's a lot of it exists because there's a very specific population that can utilize it and that it is useful for. So you need to figure out what message resonates with you and what population you resonate with, so that you can understand where you fit into all of this. And then you need to get experience. You need to understand how to do the thing and how to make changes before you actually have a product to sell. Like, no one wants to buy you liking yoga flow or animal flow or whatever the fuck it is. No one cares. Like, at that point, just take off your clothes and make it an OnlyFans. And that's what a lot of people do, because they don't have the experience to make an actual business out of it.
Yeah. I love that bit about like us having so much more knowledge than we have experience. And it's always going to be that unbalanced dichotomy nowadays because of social media. Right.
Right.
And yeah, like not to, again, double down on prescript stuff, but that's like kind of why we're here. Like this thing that you and Shallow have built and like everyone else is like trying to help with is like, this is exactly what we've tried. We've tried to, culminate this experience that we've had and that we've actually like utilize the information and utilize the theories and application of it in person with clients over, like you said, hundreds and hundreds of hours, right? Like that just bombardment of information with no idea or no way to filter and sort it. It's like if you do come into this industry and it's literally just because of social media, like you're never gonna find a way through it unless you have that way to filter through it. And like you're the only way you can do that is by testing shit. Like obviously use discretion, and I feel like people don't have that anymore. Like I can look at animal flow and like, or like whatever you want to call it. There was a physiotherapist that I saw recently, and he was teaching a client to push a sled like a bear. Like, what are you doing, homie? Like, don't, like, we're humans. It's you don't need to push the sled like a bear. Like, anyways.
What's the basis?
Yeah, what's the basis? But like, you use discretion. Look at this stuff at least with a grain of salt to some extent. Like, you can't go into it with the as a sponge, right? Like, you can't just absorb all this information and just like assume all of it's correct. because like there's a missing link there where you do have to actually put your thinking cap on. It's like, is this the thing that my client is going to benefit from, or is this just a colossal waste of time? Right. And I feel like there's some things that are going to be closer to that line where it's harder to discern whether or not it's useful or whether or not it's, a waste of time. But like, that's where the experience and that's where like the actual application of things comes into play. Because it's like you get, some exercise that someone put online. It's like, you know what, give it a shot. Like, see if it works. As long as it's not going to harm your client, as long as it's, safe and within reason of like, something you may have done on your own in the past. It's like, see if it helps or see if it fixes a specific issue. Okay, if it did, great. You can now like maybe try it with more people and see if it helps. Yes. And it's like really just a matter of like trial and error to some extent, but like, understanding the principles of how people move and how like, through biomechanics and like how the body actually fucking works and physics of like weight goes down, cables pull in this line, there's constant tension, whatever the fuck. Like if you have that basis, if you have that compass, you have a filter to process all the bullshit that is in the industry.
Yeah. I really like that point of view a lot. And kind of discernment and information appraisal, that comes from your experience in the industry, because there's a way that this stuff will funnel through, and there's a way this stuff should funnel through and make its way to your clients. Hope, for better trainers it does. And it starts off with exactly a point that you mentioned, is testing it, right? It's like you test this stuff on yourself first. Yeah. Like I had, let me see, if I started training clients in 2010, I had, probably 10 years of experience of training myself before that.
Yeah.
So it's what you do is you test things on yourself. And I was exactly what you're saying. I was a sponge of information from any source I could at that time. And that would have been no good to help anyone else, because there's no rhyme or reason to what I was doing. I was trying everything. And back then it wasn't as, attention wasn't as divided as it is now, right? I can scroll my phone and within, 20 minutes, I can see, dude, I don't even know how many accounts or how much information I could see through Instagram or whatever. It's probably a lot. It's a lot of information, because everyone has like a 6-second attention span and they're on to the next one. But what I would do at that time is I would go to Barnes and Noble, where they had the magazine rack, and I would take, Men's Health, Muscle and Fitness, Muscle Development. I would take all the bodybuilding magazines and like anything that had anything to do with like health and wellness and fitness. And I would sit down and I would drink a cup of coffee and I would read as much of it as I can. And I would take that. And then the next day I would go into the gym and I'd probably try just about everything that I read, which is kind of the equivalent of what people do now. But I did that for 10 years before I actually took money from a client to do that. So at that point I had, this stuff had trickled down through, okay, my perception of, okay, this exists, my perception of, okay, this is what I'm doing here. And then my slightly more informed perception of, this is the utility of this for someone else. And then that process, it gets more exact. And there's less noise. The further you go down, the more experience you get with it. And it's, not necessarily like yoga flow is what is it? It's animal. I keep calling it yoga. I don't even know what this shit is. I don't
really know either. I just know the physio doing the fucking bear crawl, literally like a bear. Like,
yeah, I don't know. But this stuff, it's a lot of times it gets lumped into, is this a good exercise? Is this a bad exercise? And I don't fucking know. Like there's no real way to answer that outside of like, what's the use? Like, what are you trying to do? Do you understand the utility of this? And then once we understand that is what's the purpose of this exercise, then we can look at it and say, okay, is there something that also does that, but does it in a more efficient way where you don't look like an idiot bear crawling down the streets of Edmonton next to the bums on the bench that want to shank you and steal your meth, because everyone has meth in Edmonton. But it's because there's probably 30 to 40 different exercises that we can use, I don't know, on a leg day, but maybe there's only 4 that are effective. or that if you have the correct exercise selection, you can nail it down to 4 that are going to be most effective for your time and your effort. And that's the understanding that experience gets you, is that, okay, we need to know that all 40 of these things exist. Maybe we need to try all 40 of these things. We need to form an opinion on which is going to be the most effective and which is going to be the least effective. And that's where enter information now, where we can start to use that to inform our opinions that, okay, like these are principles of, of strength and conditioning. These are principles of human movement. These are principles of biomechanics. If we overlay all those things, then it just cuts through the bullshit and we can be very precise and say, all right, these are the only 4 movements you need to do on your leg day. Let's just do these and not do the stupid meth bear crawl thing.
Yeah. I feel like that's the number one thing that I think people need to understand is that, yeah, it is the experience thing, obviously, but devoid of context, none of the things that you're, seeing online matters, right? Because at the end of the day, it comes down to, again, does it work for you? Okay, well, maybe it could work for a client that you have. Obviously, the experience side of things, right? But it's like the person in front of you. Like, am I going to get my fucking 80-year-old client to do this weird bear crawl down the turf? Probably not. It's hard for her to get off the ground, like, without any weight. So, like, the person in front of you is going to dictate all of the training variables that actually matter. Like, there are things that a healthy person like you and I could do that just simply do not work with an 80-year-old person.
Thanks for assuming I'm healthy.
I say healthy as there's cigar smoke and I'm drinking a Monster and there's a fucking shelf of whiskey behind me just for
mysterious red
context.
fluid here.
Yeah.
Just waiting.
And I'm filled with, a room full of smoke. But, like, health, again, relative term here. We are healthy, quote unquote. But, like, there's things that we can do that grandma cannot do.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, yeah, when you see some of the bigger names, the biomechanics boys in the fucking the Instagram realm, it's like, okay, sure, we might be able to optimize hypertrophy through this very specific machine, but it's like, does grandma need that? No, she needs to be able to pet her cat and like make tea and biscuits. Like, that's what grandma's for. Like, she doesn't need to optimize her bicep hypertrophy. So just being exposed to that, like, that level of, variance in clients and that experience, it leaks into everything that you do. Cause it's like, okay, well, my grandma can do this. So I was like, why can't you do this? If my grandma can squat this, why are you not able to do this?
Yeah.
Right. And it kind of goes back and forth where it's like the decisions that you make with one client will have an impact on clients in the future. Right. You've seen it work once, you might see it work again. Or, that those 10 people that you worked with the exact same issue, you might see relief from 10 different solutions.
Yeah.
All right. So saying like one specific way to do things isn't necessarily the right way. Like, there's no one right way. And I think that's what nerfs so many trainers nowadays, is that you see all this stuff online. And again, online is a great resource. Social media can be an absolutely fantastic resource.
Yeah.
But what we end up getting trapped with is we think that there is one solution to this. This will fix the issue. And it's like, the more people you have coming through your door, the more you're going to realize, and the more quickly you'll realize that that is not the case at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, there's always multiple solutions to every problem. Yeah. So the more experience you get with that, it's, continuing on that trickle down, is once things trickle down to the client level, is that now you have experience doing this with a live human that is not yourself. Yeah. And the more often you do that, then the more accurate you can be, or the more solutions you get to this problem. Is that, okay, this is the most effective way that I've found to solve this problem with most people. Let's start here. If this doesn't work, or there's some sort of limitation where we're not able to do this, all right, let's peel back a layer. Here's another way that I tried to do this, and I got good results. It just wasn't as efficient, or it wasn't as effective, but this fits the constraints that this client has given me, so I can use this one. It's not always, the best way to solve the problem. It's the best way to solve the problem is the one that works.
Yeah.
So if, this optimal solution isn't going to work with the population that you have or the specific client you have, then it's not the best way to solve the problem. You need to you need to problem solve and figure out something that's going to work with the variables that you've been given. And that's, I feel like that's where a lot of this optimal stuff is kind of being born from, which is like, it's a swing in the industry. There's always these overcorrections, no matter what it is. It's
Yeah.
like when I started training, it was all bro science. It was like you go to the biggest guy in the gym and you do what he does, and the solution is always work harder. So just work harder. And then there's this overcorrection of like the super research based optimal nerdy crowd with no biceps. And it's like, all right, like in a vacuum, in isolation, like that makes sense, but in application, like real life happens and this doesn't work. So we need to be able to interpret both sides of that and be like, all right, maybe we're going to try and do the best thing that we can with the variables we're given, but maybe you just need to fucking work hard. And the answer is probably somewhere in the middle there. And that's kind of, in a nutshell, that's kind of what the level 1 is. It's like, we're going to
Yeah.
give you the best information possible, but when all those fails, just fucking send it. Just work
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah. I think, we've shit on it a lot today, like the social media stuff, but I think if we turn it in a positive way, like what it is that everyone wants the best for their people that they work with. Like this is why, we have people that do, 30-minute warm-ups and stuff like that in their hour-long training sessions. It's not because they're trying to purposely take advantage or like waste a client's time. It's that they think that this is what the client needs. And born out of a good place, I think it's fine. But like there has to be a certain point where you realize that what the client needs. Yeah, they might need 30 minutes of warm up right off the bat, but it's like if you have the tools to take them from 30 minutes of warm up to like checking in a little bit first, like 5-10 minutes, and like seeing if they're good to go, and like understanding, okay, I've worked with this client from point zero, like from zero to now, right? Seeing the improvements that they've had. It's like based on the experience and what you're seeing in front of you, like, is this person ready to move? Right? Yeah, maybe they are, maybe not. Maybe you need to do an extra couple sets, but like being able to understand the person in front of you and like judge whether or not they're good to move or not, or whether you're just going to constantly make them warm up for 30 minutes and then you only have to work for really 30 minutes of that hour.
Yeah.
But it's like it comes from a good place, and I think that's what we seem to forget. And that's when we're fighting on the internet about which method works best. It's like, okay, well, they probably all kind of work, right? They probably all kind of work depending on the person that's in front of you. So it comes out of a good place, but we don't want to hurt people so bad that we're willing to basically do nothing with them. And we're scared to touch them. We're scared to put them through a workout that's actually going to make a change and make a difference in that person's life. And it's good that that we don't want to hurt people, but yeah, if we're nerfing them and we're not letting them actually like let loose, like we are kind of in a way just taking their money and running with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Taking their money. I used the with Smoke. He was talking about him and I were talking about this, and I likened it to taking their money and fisting them with it.
Oh man,
Paints a
yeah,
picture.
it does. Shout out Smoke. Your next trip up to Edmonton, Alberta, bring your cash and get fisted. You're right, though. It's, good intentions can be dangerous. Is that,
Yeah.
it's everyone's well intended. Not everyone. There's some shitholes out there, but
Yeah.
a lot of people are well intended in what they're doing. But if you're well intended and ignorant, then you're just holding someone back, right?
Yeah.
Is you need to understand what you're doing, and you need to have some sort of focus on furthering your knowledge or going down this process of vetting the information that's in front of you. And it's just be curious. Try and poke holes in it. I try and poke holes in every single thing that I say. And I'm probably like, my mental health probably suffers for it. So maybe don't be like me. But I don't think I definitely don't think people on the internet do this on the whole, is that say something and then sit with it and see if you really truly believe that, or do something and then assess it. Self-appraise, self-assess. Is that, okay, how did this session with this client go? How was this last 8-week progression? Did we accomplish what we wanted to do? What were the things that were the largest contributing factors to progress? What were the things that were kind of fluff? How can we make this more effective next time? Is that just constantly going through this process of self-assessment is what makes the people that we work with a different breed. Is that's non-negotiable. That's the thing that you have to be doing. Is that you don't have to know anything.
Yeah.
You can learn the things. The information is available. But if you don't have the self-awareness to be able to self-assess like that, then you're never going to get better. Is that you don't want to just confirm the biases that you already have. You want to poke holes in the things that you believe in strongly. Is that if you can humble yourself enough to do that and really challenge your beliefs to the point where you're trying to poke holes in the things that you're very convicted about, then eventually you'll find holes. Sometimes you won't, and then the things that you don't find holes in, they stick. And they're going to be the things that you kind of start to base your core principles of training or your values around training around. And then that's what's going to allow you to continually progress throughout your career, is that you need to be self-assessing all the times, and you can always do something better. So I think that's kind of the cornerstone of, what makes the people that we work with different from the normal population of trainers.
Yeah. And that is like, without that, that is how you get, conspiracy theorists like flat earthers, is because they are testing things that you literally can't, like, they are so unwilling to accept anything else,
Yeah.
right? Anything other than their own point of view, that, they can believe just absolutely ridiculous things. I mean, I don't know. I am a scientist, but pretty sure this is a big blue fucking marble, but
Yeah.
so am I going to get RX Radio canceled now?
I don't think you can get canceled off this, but so believe it or not, I took a class in logic in college, which is ridiculous. But a sound argument, it has to have solid logic, and it needs to
Yeah.
be based off of true premises, right?
Yeah.
I think people have the logic part of things down, but they base their argument off of flawed premises. And that's
Yeah.
something that we see is like, you can make something make sense, but unless the premises in that argument are true, then the whole thing's false, right? If I can argue, I can make a logical argument that the earth is flat, is that, oh, if you look at it from outer space, it looks flat. Every picture of the earth that's taken in 2 dimensions makes the earth look flat. Like, yes, that's logical. And
Yeah.
you could logically draw the conclusion that the earth is flat based off of that if you don't dig into the truth of those premises. Like, do we have other information out there? Or which other ways can we measure this outside of satellite images? So I think that's something that gets lost in terms of context on the internet, is that people a lot of times either don't have the background knowledge to vet the premises that these arguments are based off of, or they don't have the area of expertise, or some of this, like the optimal crowd gets super jargony, or they'll use like
Yeah.
PubMed IDs and stuff. It's like, okay, I guess you make sense in what you're saying, and then some people just stop there as opposed to digging to, but what's the real application? Like, are these valid premises that you're basing this argument off of, or is it flawed somewhere along the line? And it might be flawed so deeply layered down in there that no one gives the fuck to dig that deep. But if you've been around this shit for long enough, if you have the experience, you don't need to know why. You can be like, oh no, that's bullshit. Fuck this guy. He sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like, yeah, the whole research thing, like, I don't know. I've gone through my entire career as a trainer without like really caring about what research was. And I think, like, from my experience, like getting into the industry, it's been like, I grew up like listening to cool people. Like, I mean, Paul Quinn was a little nuts, but like,
Yeah.
I mean, the dude just like did stuff. He just like he used, like, he just experimented and did shit, and then he's like, yeah, well, all right, 10 years, 20 years down the road, there was some research that came out and like proved what he was already doing.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you just do shit. I think we just like sort of figured out the new trajectory for like what a personal trainer should like do in this industry, is like basically come in, take your certification, train yourself for 10 years, 5, 10 years, whatever.
Yeah.
So there's a barrier to entry right there. That's your ticket to be a personal trainer. Like admit one, free admission. So do that, get your fucking certification, then go and like figure out what you believe in and have some way to discern whether the information is good or not. Take courses, do what you got to do. Take level 1 because that'll cut through all of your it'll cut through all the bullshit. Just do that right off the bat. Cause like if you're listening to this and you're a day 1 trainer, just sign up. Like, not to make this thing a whole sales thing, but it is that good of a course that will, and the access to the community is that good that it will impact your career positively. I would not be here today if it didn't. So go do that. And then, experiment, just have a bunch of people come through your door, train them, see what works, see what doesn't on other people, see how you can train them, and then just fucking rinse and repeat. Train yourself, train other people. I think we fucking did it.
You did it. You heard it here. Brandon Schultze, ladies and gentlemen. If people want to find you, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, on Instagram is probably the best way to go. I mean, I do some stuff on there sometimes.
What's the handle?
Brandon.Schultze, Schultze. Yeah, you'll see me doing yard work, smoking cigars, drinking whiskey, doing degenerative behavior in general. So
I love it. And somehow we employed him. You can catch him in this semester of the level 1. Thanks for hanging out today. It was great to catch up. I can't wait to hang in Toronto. And, anything to close on?
I don't think so. Just give a shit. Just give a shit. Give a shit enough to, just be better.
Be better. Give a shit to be better.
Be better, lift weights.
Gentlemen. Amazing.